And now I'm pleased to introduce Dr. Sarah Rebolloso McCullough. Sarah is the Associate Director of the Feminist Research Institute at the University of California, Davis, where her work is dedicated to creating more equitable systems of knowledge production.
The Asking Different Questions program was created with a National Science Foundation Innovation and Graduate Education Grant. It's been going on at UC Davis for about 3 years now. And we are, able to share a lot of resources, hoping that this is useful for other institutions as well. The real premise of the program is that we want to provide scientists who have a commitment to equity and justice, or who want to develop that commitment, the intellectual tools to make good on that. And we draw upon literature, decades of literature really, from the fields of science and technology studies, ethnic studies, indigenous studies, feminist theory, and as well as history and other social science and humanities. And we really bring that to apply it to STEM disciplines. And at the end of the day, what we've discovered we're really teaching is the strengths of doing value-based research. And I see this as really strongly aligning with the mission of HIBAR, specifically because there's a value there of having research that has a real societal impact, while simultaneously furthering basic science goals of knowledge production. And what we've learned are the strengths of this program is that, one, the Asking Different Questions training tends to create more equitable research cultures. It changes what questions are asked, who is asking those questions, and why we are asking those questions. It also tends to lead to smarter partnerships. And these smarter partnerships tend to improve the knowledge base to solve large global problems. And finally, we're also seeing that this training improves recruitment and attention, especially of those who have historically been excluded from the academy. Specifically, what types of things do we talk about within this research training program? We talk about topics such as, what have researchers had to give up, quote unquote, to be a part of the scientific community? We also ask questions such as, how are the legacies of colonialism in science still with us today? And we also ask questions such as, how is bias present in the language, models, and theories in my field? We've seen significant improvements in students' confidence to do things such as design research that will have a positive social impact, to do research that will lead to new innovations, to do research that will impact policy, to see connections between science and culture and society, and communicate the importance of research to a general audience. What I'll also add is we also saw really significant gains in students' sense of belonging. And that really matters because a lot of research has shown us that one of the greatest predictors of whether or not students will stay in STEM is if they feel that they belong there and if they feel like they can take on that identity of a scientist. So these are the kinds of things that we work to provide our trainees with tools to really address these sorts of issues so that they can, at the end of the day, be asking different questions that have more impact and that are contributing to basic research questions in their field. Our theory of change in a nutshell is that we can't focus just on individual behavior change. We're less focused on changing the individual and more on, changing the system, changing the whole entire culture. Things that I think universities can do is, one, to programs can allow graduate students to have committee members outside of the department and even outside of their field. I think that can be really impactful. And their remaining committee members in the discipline can really make space for the insights that outside committee member and that outside field brings. I think That's something very tangible. And ultimately, being willing to be a bit more flexible in terms of what defines a discipline. As I'm sure, many in HIBAR can appreciate, disciplines are incredibly important. And when we focus too much on guarding our boundaries, that we often can miss the bigger picture that is specific, particularly around societal needs, but also I'd say, some real insights that can arise in basic research. So I'd say that the most important thing that departments and faculty can do is to find ways to institutionally make space for graduate students. The one thing I would encourage people to do is to make space for their graduate students. I usually facilitate the conversations with any faculty that attend. I can say, almost every single time when it's a conversation among faculty, this issue of tenure and review and what a department values comes up over and over as the biggest barrier to doing this work. And frankly, also their willingness to push their students and support their students in doing this work. It's not that they don't value the research, it's that they're concerned that if they let their students do the kind of work that they really want to, that they're not setting themselves up for success in the academic job market. And it's, and I mean, that's so I'd say that's the area that we really need the greatest interventions on. Graduate students at many universities actually are our leaders in pushing forward like more equitable, what it looks like to have a more equitable research culture. They frankly have, I think, more answers than the rest of us, and supporting them in that work, both, by, following through on their recommendations, listening to them, but also ideally in supporting them financially, because they're doing all that work as service work under, great pressures and oftentimes, without a big take-home paycheck. And so if they can be supported in that work financially, I think that's huge. And that frankly is, an equitable practice.